Israel Adesanya's coach Eugene Bareman made some interesting comments last night at the UFC 293 post-fight presser following Adesanya's loss to Sean Strickland, and I kind of feel like he was discrediting the win that Sean Strickland had last night, and we'll talk about that in today's video. But first, we're going to listen to Adesanya himself, who made a brief appearance at the presser, and then we'll hear from Eugene Bareman.
Win or lose, I wasn't going to say much anyway, but right now, I lost tonight to the better man on the night, and I just want to go with people, be with people who care about me, my team, and they're waiting for me, so I'm going to do that. But I'll leave it with Eugene Bareman. He'll handle this for the first time. I want to go chill, have some breakfast, build my family, and yeah, till next time.
Okay, so one thing I'll just mention about this, right off the top, he says I wasn't going to say much had he won the fight. I guarantee you he would have. There was a lot of buildup. I mean, you look at some of the trash talk leading into the fight with Strickland. He wanted to make a statement and it didn't happen. So I don't believe him there. I will give him credit, though, the way he said I lost to the better man tonight. I didn't hear any excuses in here. This is very good from Izzy. Again, I get called an Izzy hater and all these different things. I'll give him credit here. This is what you should do when you lose a fight like this. It was decisive. Strickland clearly won. This is how you should act after a loss. So I'm going to give full marks to Izzy for this comment. Would have been nice for him to stick around the whole presser instead of getting his coach to talk, but I'm not going to be too hard on him because, again, he just lost a fight in kind of an embarrassing fashion in the sense that he was such a big favorite going in and everyone was expecting him to win. So can't totally get him off the hook for leaving the presser early, but I understand it as well. Let's hear from his coach.
Huge. I think most people would agree that was not the Israel Adesanya we're used to seeing in there tonight. He looked slow, he looked off, kind of fatigued early. Can you tell us anything about his performance and maybe why?
By the way, I don't like this question. I like Oscar a lot. Great guy here, but kind of making it out, like not really giving any credit to Strickland here. Not a fan of that right off the bat. You got to acknowledge that, at least saying, hey, maybe you looked off a little bit tonight, but also say, and Strickland also put on a great defensive performance. I didn't hear any of that from the question. So right off the bat, you kind of know where this is headed. Don't really like that, just as a personal opinion of mine.
That was the reason. What was the reason?
I think Sean's a great fighter, and I never once thought that Sean wasn't capable of beating Israel. But I thought if Israel performed to the fullest of his capabilities, it would be a very hard fight for Sean. There was an alternate kind of universe where if Israel performs his poorest or poorly, where Sean could win. And I'm sitting in that universe right now. So he had an off night. Training camp was great. I'm not going to make any excuses in regard to that. Leading up to the fight week was great. Sparring partners, everything, all the technical little things to do with the camp, they were all perfect. So there's no excuses there. He came in, he had an off night. He couldn't see the same things that we were seeing. We couldn't make a good connection in the corner. It was just a frustrating night, yeah. Like I said, I don't think we have to change too much, but we will find something because we have the benefit of time. So we will get down to our usual business as a coaching team, and we'll find something to add to this camp, and we'll win the rematch.
Would you like that rematch as soon as possible, or do you think maybe some time off could be beneficial for Israel?
Well, I asked Mick if we could have the rematch next weekend.
Okay.
So whether he grants it, I'm not sure, but I'm just very confident that we can change the outcome of this fight with very minor adjustments. What I'm saying is, we couldn't get Israel to enact our plan. There wasn't much cohesion in the corner. You have nights like this, and I think we can do the rematch tomorrow, and I think we can have a good night.
So, okay, I will give him credit. He was, obviously praising Sean a little bit here, but saying you want the rematch tomorrow, like I know as a coach, you want to get it back in there. You want to get that back. I'll take part of that into consideration when I'm going to say what I'm about to say here. But I feel like him saying that we're going to do the rematch tomorrow is kind of overlooking Strickland again. Like, my personal opinion, and again, I'm just a guy behind a camera here, I think they underestimated Sean. I mean, there's plenty of tape on him. There's plenty of people that have fought Sean. Adesanya, I'm sure there was part of it was that he had an off night, but you also got to look at the fact that Sean's a tough guy to hit. Izzy was swinging a ton and missing because Sean Strickland's a very good defensive fighter. To just say that you're going to go in there and I'll fight him tomorrow as if it's almost implying that it was a bit of a fluke. And I don't know how you guys take this, but I don't really like that attitude. I would prefer him here to say, look, we're going to take some time off, rest, and we'll reassess. That's fine. But if you saying that you're going to take the fight tomorrow, that's in a way disrespectful to Strickland and kind of overlooking what happened last night. Strickland clearly won. Go look on MMA decisions. I did this in the other video. Not a single media member scored the fight for Israel Adesanya. Sean Strickland won this fight. No questions asked. So for you to say, oh, it was just an off night, I feel like that's really disrespectful towards Strickland. And I feel like this again is playing into the whole narrative that Dana said yesterday, which is we got to do the rematch. Like, I don't know. Like, I just think that a fight like this where you clearly lose, I don't think it should just be, okay, we're going to do this right away. And I don't think the fans want to see this either. You know, judging by the response from what I've seen, I don't think people want to see Sean Strickland and Israel go at it right again. I think they want to see a new fight here and then get some time off for Adesanya, because this is 2 losses in his last 3 fights. No matter how you swing it, I know people always talk about, well, he was beating Pereira and then he got knocked out. It's still a loss. It's still 2 of his last 3. So for his coach to kind of come out here and say that, hey, we're going to take this right away, I think is a bit delusional, just a little bit, because you're not looking at that this was a puzzle you could not solve for 5 rounds. He won 1 of the rounds. Maybe you could give him 2, but overall, Strickland controlled that fight. And even looking at the stats last night, you can see here Sean Strickland landing 137 out of 259 strikes. Adesanya actually threw more strikes, but he only landed 94. So he was 52% on the night, Sean Strickland, 34% for Adesanya. And even going round by round, even the one round that, people said that Adesanya won, he was still hitting at 31% compared to 50% for Strickland. Adesanya landed more strikes, but Strickland actually, was more accurate compared to that too. So again, looking at this round by round here, I don't know how he can sit there and say that, oh, well, it was kind of an off night and we don't need to change too much. Like, I don't know, man. You clearly lost the fight. Like, it was not a close decision. It wasn't a fluke knockout. None of these things occurred here. This was a fight that you clearly lost. And I just feel by him making the comments about, well, we're going to try and do this next week. It's like, oh yeah, it was a quick mistake and no big deal. Like, I don't know. I don't agree with that at all. I think, like I said, I think there could have been a better response here. I'm not going to go too hard in the paint on Eugene Bareman just because I do like the fact that he did at least give some credit to Strickland. He said he was the better man tonight. That's good. It's not like he's in denial. We've certainly had fights where fighters' coaches thought, oh, there's no way he can beat me or any of this stuff. I remember Giga Chikadze when he fought Calvin Kattar said I beat him 9 times out of 10. We didn't hear any of that, so that was good. But again, I'm looking at this fight here. I don't see how you could think that this was just like a close fight or an off night or anything like that. I agree that Adesanya didn't look his best, but you can't take away from what Strickland did. Again, very good defensive performance here. The striking was on point, and he barely got hit at all. Again, look at the accuracy here from Adesanya. It's just the numbers do not add up very well at all. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you think the comments made by Israel Adesanya's coach were disrespectful towards Strickland? I want to know. Like, do you feel like him saying, I want to take the fight next week is a way of saying like, oh, that was just kind of a fluke? Because that's kind of how I took it here, right? Again, there was some positive stuff in this video. I thought Adesanya didn't really make any excuses himself. I'm talking mainly about Adesanya's coach, Eugene Bareman, who does seem to have a habit in certain interviews of disrespecting potential opponents. Don't even get me started on the whole Drakus thing. We did a video on that already. But I think in general, I just don't feel like he's giving Sean Strickland much credit and kind of acting like, hey, this was a bit of a fluke. Now, look, as a coach, you got to believe in your fighter. You got to believe they can win. I understand all that. You don't need to tell me that, hey, you got to pump up your fighter and think that you can win every fight. I get that. I'm just saying, and we'll do it one more time. Look at the data here. He didn't win. He didn't even come close to winning, right? You could, like I said, give him maybe round 2, maybe round 3. But the rest of the rounds were significant here. Sean Strickland's in blue, by the way, in case people were wondering. But it was a pretty clear win here for Sean Strickland. So all I'm saying here is, I think if, let's say, they do go ahead and do the rematch here, I would hope that Adesanya's team's going to take this a little bit more seriously and try and really figure out this puzzle. Because you look at middleweight, Sean Strickland's been finished 1 time by Alex Pereira. Outside of that, Jared Cannonier is the only other guy to beat him at middleweight. And that was an extremely close fight, if you look at it, right? So you got to kind of look at those little optics here. I think Sean Strickland is one of the most underrated fighters in the middleweight division, and he clearly proved that last night as a 4-1 underdog, getting it done over Israel Adesanya. So let me know in the comments what you think about this. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, at Lynch on Sports. I'm James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching. And if you guys have any other video ideas, always open to suggestion. Always love hearing from you guys. I appreciate you tuning in, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, let's kick it off, Jack, cross of the beat, beating you MMA, heat is the main course of the feast, Lynch on Sports, the force, he's got his ears to the streets, uppercutting with knowledge, shaking the brain with breakdowns.